Us Live, your daily source for Green Bay Packers content. Created for the fans by the fans. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you know whenever we go live. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Packers_access. Go Pack Go. Enjoy the show.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us, 865-658-5824. Join alongside Emilio in Tennessee. Ready to talk some Packers Seahawks this evening. We'll also give you guys and gals an updated injury report. We will take a walk around Packers Twitter, get you the latest news around the Packers, some quotes from the pressers. Emilio, I know you've been checking out the pressers. I want to get your take on anything we may or may not have learned there. But before we get into all that, let's go ahead and give a quick shout out to the good folks over at Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. Wisconsin-based since 92, specializing in Packers tickets. They're Wisconsin's largest ticket source with offices next to Lambeau and in Milwaukee. Click on the link in the video description. That'll send you to their website, theticketking.com. Register for free there as a customer and go ahead and start looking around for your Packers tickets. Again, that's Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. All right, Emilio, man, we're ready to jump into this. We got a bunch of stuff to cover. I'm excited. I'm really excited to hear your take on the pressers. Matter of fact, if it's cool with you, why don't we lead off with it? And as we get into some of the news, if it triggers another thought that you may or may not have heard earlier today, we'll hit it. What kind of stood out to you, man?
Yeah, I was just trying to spark notes them, slam them right before the pod and, get everything in there. So what I did pick up, Steno was kind of talking about the offense, they were asking him, what did the D-line kind of do specifically? Said they're really good in their load fronts and twists. So I think that's something we got to keep an eye on, twists, moving forward. How's Myers going to handle that? How are we going to pass it off? And then he also said that they're going to ask your backs a lot of times to be able to block. So, Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson, I think we'll probably see a lot of Brooks back there. I know they like him blocking. Emmanuel hasn't gotten a lot of chances to do that. It seems like they only really bring him in to run the ball. And then Josh, again, he's been working hard and getting a lot better at it this year. I know it was a little struggle to begin with. And then Hafley was kind of going off. He gets into those, man. If you haven't seen him give an interview, you'll see him get in there. He's trying to, show him. He used some of the the press people as an example. Let me say, you're a tackle, you're the running back, I'm the corner. So he really engages it. It's really cool to see him break it all down. He was getting heated about. Remember we talked about JJ Watt complaining about the tackle and all that stuff, and he was mad that the corners and safeties can't go low anymore. He's like, the fact that they have to take on 190-pound dudes, got to take on 320 moving with speed is tough. So he's like, we try to teach him to step outside, really bait him with the dudes. His head is not behind him. He can't see where the running back is. Let's bait him right, shake him left, and just try to not get crushed. But really, he's always building on something with that defense. I know you're going to pull up some of the quotes he had earlier, but it's just the little things that they can do to grow, to get him into that space. He was happy with Zane Anderson. He goes, honestly, really happy with his performance and what he did, and being able to ask him to be ready to do that. Because how can we always ask a rookie who's practiced in one position all week to switch position on a dime, go play safety? You haven't practiced it all week. We can ask Keyshawn to do it, but it's even tough on him. So I really liked his breakdown of that.
You said bait them right, shake them left, and pray to sweet baby Jesus you survive the rep, right? That's
definitely.
That's on the edge. And you were talking about twists, right? Some people you've heard us talk about on Chalk Talk. You'll hear the term twist, right? You'll hear stunt, you'll hear game, you'll hear TT. With a twist, typically a twist is a TT stunt, right? It's a tackle. It's one tackle engaging first and another tackle looping off his backside, and then they'll both trying to free up. So essentially what you're trying to do, and the reason Emilio specifically mentioned Josh Myers, you're trying to, like, let's say you've got two defensive tackles, right? You're trying to go across the face of the center, take the center into the other guard as the other one comes off of that guard and loops around.
Right.
You're taught to pass it off, right? So the guard in real time should pass that over to the center and then slide back and pick the other aspect of the TT up. So it's good stuff, man. And it's something that became popular. I started to really notice, especially on running downs, and I've talked about this before. It was several years ago in Carolina. I mean, I'm talking about like 6-7 years ago, they started run stunting in Carolina, and it was like, whoa, look at this. Because usually you wouldn't run a stunt on an obvious running down, right? Now they're all about it because again, you can still have assignment sound, gap integrity, even if you do run a stunt, a TT, a game, whatever you want to call it. So good stuff there, man. All right, let's go to the chat, man. As everybody's filling in, AFAM in the chat said, how does Richard Sherman still have his analyst job? Hey, listen, I don't know how you feel about this, Emilio, but I'm right there with AFAM. If you ever listen to Richard Sherman, we know he's a extremely intelligent human being. He was an awesome football player. Some would say he's Hall of Fame caliber. Now, he's had his issues off the field, as many football players have over the years, but hearing him as an analyst, it hurts my ears, dude. And I usually can try to find the positive in someone's specific style, but he really does get on my nerves, man. The rest of that Thursday night crew, I really enjoy. I think they work well together.
Yeah.
Obviously, Fitzmagic is must-see TV, but have you listened to much Richard Sherman outside of football?
Not as much, but I know what you're talking about when he's on the panel there. He really does lean on his takes. He definitely shows who he cares about a lot more, and he'll kind of cut on the other ones. But yeah, it's not no Tom Brady coming out and making waves, and it's like he's not there enough to be able to make that kind of call.
Right.
But he can give his point, and I guess keep him locked on a Thursday night game, keep him in a gig, and call it a day. But yeah, I hear you, fam.
All right, Chris in the chat said, I miss Packers games at noon on Sundays. Me too, Chris. That's my favorite game. I know we've talked about this before, Emilio, and I think Tim was on board with me too. If you made me choose between a primetime game, a 4:00 game, or the 12 noon or 1 o'clock our time, obviously, I'm going with the 1 o'clock kickoff. I love it, man. Absolutely love it.
I do love a 1 o'clock, but man, I think I'd have to go with Under the Lights. Just that energy. Yeah, I think it hits different. Not that I'm opposed to the 1 o'clock. That was the one time I got to go to the game. It was a 1 o'clock, and it was awesome to be there. But I need to go back. I need to go to Lambeau during a night game, and I think you have to bring less practice energy throughout the week. You don't have to hound the guys as much on a night game versus the 12 a.m. game. But also to that point, Josh Myers earlier in the year saying, how do you deal with a whole day? I mean, they're human too. They can't just be 8 o'clock at night. Can't just appear there. So you got to fight through that, and I think that's something that. But I think it also helps him. We started off early. We got in a schedule. Cool. The team was doing all right. And then now we're going to have to get used to some of these different time games, especially if we go make a run in the playoffs. It's not all going to be, 12 noon.
Yeah. And the 49ers are taking the field right now. Looks like as the Niners and the Rams getting ready to get kicked off in San Francisco. Looks like a little bit of rain falling, has been raining pretty hard the entire pregame. And the 49ers obviously looking to get a little bit healthier as it goes on here. Prince in the chat says, Rams 49ers tonight, kind of torn on who I want to see win. So let's take a look at it. And I haven't even we're already off cuff. That's okay. That's why when Tim isn't here, we go off the rails. That's just the way it works.
That's true.
Who would we rather see win here tonight? You've got the LA Rams, right? They're sitting in the 8th spot at 7-6. The Niners at 6-7. Me personally, I'm pulling for the Niners in this game. You want to see every team pile up as many losses as possible that's underneath the Packers. Do you see it the same way, or do you think there's a reason why we should root for the Rams over the Niners other than the fact that we absolutely despise the 49ers?
Despise the 49ers. Yes, that's the truth. I think I'm still with you, though. I think I'd rather have San Fran win. Just also because not the Rams, I don't think they're as much of a joke as everyone made them out to be.
Yeah.
Luka and Kupp can tear it up. Matt Stafford is still able to dish the rock, and Sean McVay can scheme it. So I'd be a little more worried about them if they make it. If they beat out, if Rams get the win and they're, they end up tied with the Commanders at the end of the weekend, it's all bets are off.
Yep, definitely. So I think that's the rooting interest we have, Prince. Again, if you root for the Rams, I completely understand because it's fun to see the Niners kind of waller in it. But also playoff-wise, I think it's going to come down to every win. You never know what's going to happen, man. Listen, I'm not trying to speak negative, but I'm just being real here. The Packers could go on a little cold streak here, right? And you might need a little bit of help outside of just the games that you could potentially win. So I don't want to look back in week, whatever it is, week 18, and it be a tie somewhere across the board and we don't completely control our destiny. I think we will control our destiny, but at the same time. And I'm that person like, look, every penny saved is a penny earned, right? Like get every single bit of advantage you possibly can to make sure you make the playoffs for sure.
Right.
So that's just a quick look at the NFC standings since Prince brung that up. Ron Sample said, I'd love to be in Hafley's pressers. Really respectful to the journalist and gives great answers. To me, there's not much coach speak at all. And some people kind of watch it and they say there is. I'm telling you, if you really understand the game of football, he is telling you everything. It's really cool.
Even in the comment section of the YouTube video, like the fans are like saying, hey, I love how this dude can explain the game to us fans like that. Because how often do we get that kind of in-depth insight? What he's, maybe he's telling us something he coached him up on in week 1 or in the offseason or something like that. But just that little nugget gives us a little bit more to grab onto, kind of latch onto, build out our diagram of what we're seeing, what we're thinking. And all it was, hey, that's normal to me, but I'm able to teach you something here. If you want to learn, if you want to take it and run with it, cool. If not, fine. But I'm not gonna, flip you the bird or whatever on the answer. Like I like that he's good about it.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm on board with that too. Ron also said Rams offense is dangerous. Again, arguably the best wide receiver tandem in the league. Puka Nacua is he's the real deal, man. That dude. You talk about if typically when someone asks you, hey, what do you like about that player? Or if someone says, what makes that player great? The first thing that comes to mind is probably the correct answer. With Puka Nacua, the thing that comes to mind for me is elite body control. That dude he can be in the air catching a football and contort his body in a way that's just not normal. It's just unbelievable, the body control and contact balance he has in and out of his breaks. With Yak as well, obviously taking a hit while catching the ball, everything. He's the real deal. And you could see it plain as day coming out of college. Could you imagine if the Packers had pulled the trigger on him and got Nacua in Green Bay? Could you just imagine this wide receiver core with Puka Nacua in the middle of it? That would be unbelievable. So, yeah. But again, yeah, Matt would definitely be cooking. Tupac LaFleur would be cooking there. Larry Cano in the chat says, Monday Night Football back in the day was special. Larry, man, you know this way better than me, I'm sure. I was born in 82. So my earliest memories of Monday Night Football were Al Michaels, Dan Deerdorf, and I'm trying to think, maybe Joe Theismann, maybe, that crew. But back in the day, Emilio, you may not know this, Monday Night Football, like back in the day, obviously way before the internet and you having what am I trying to say here? You having a way to access the rest of the league. If you wanted to see highlights, if you wanted to see what happened around the NFL, you had to tune in for Monday Night Football. Like if you got a local game, they weren't showing highlights from other games or anything. That was like Monday Night Football was kind of the weekly wrap up, right? And they said it was something special. And you guys hear me talk about Greg Cosell all the time. I'm a big Greg Cosell fan. Well, he's the nephew of Howard Cosell, and Howard Cosell was might not have been the first, but he was definitely the most famous voice of Monday Night Football. If I remember correctly, you had Howard Cosell and Dandy Don Meredith. Don Meredith was the quarterback of the Cowboys during the Ice Bowl that they played the Packers. But yeah, have you ever heard anything on Howard Cosell? I mean, I know you're pretty young.
I want to say I did hear a little bit in one of Lombardi's books about it, but yeah.
No, he was unbelievable. You can go to YouTube, just type in Howard Cosell. It's must-see TV. He and Muhammad Ali had really came up with a real close friendship, and hearing them go back and forth at each other is hilarious, man.
The banter is all of it, man. That is friendship to a T right there.
Yeah. Coach Lynn in the chat said, I'm starting to hate the Lions more than the Niners. Coach, they have, you talk about a team that has overachieved, in my opinion. They have skyrocketed to the top of I said a bad word, the crap list for me. All right. Their fan base has become like, who the hell do you think you are? Mm-hmm. For someone who has an empty trophy case, y'all act like you are just the pride and joy of the NFL. I look forward to watching them, watching this whole season go down the tube here real soon when they get in the playoffs. I hope it's crushing too. I hope it's something along the lines of them getting blown out by 30 points. And then Ben Johnson leaves, Aaron Glenn leaves, and Dan Campbell's left holding the bag. That's what I'm looking forward to, though. Who's your most hated team in the league? Do you feel like?
I think Coach called it, man. It was the Niners for a while there, man. They just rubbed me the wrong way, and now the Lions. I think that was the most I was screaming at my TV. Every successful thing and everything that went bad for them, I had a little chirp to say.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Let's see. Go Pack 84 fan says Frank Gifford. That's right. It was Giff. And Prince says, I remember Howard, Dandy Don, and Gifford. Frank Gifford was just an absolute legend in New York playing for the Giants. He actually played for Lombardi, if I remember correctly, when Vince Lombardi was the offensive coordinator for the Giants. And I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Holy cow. The great football coach in Dallas, Tom Landry, was the defensive coordinator. So he played under that regime there, which is really cool. So again, this ain't a history podcast.
Was it like the fastest 3 minutes though, kind of, for that catch up on Monday night? You're saying early season.
I never got to see it. Obviously, it was before my time. I never got to really experience it, but I've just heard some of the older fans, right, talk about how they could not wait for Monday Night Football because that's where you got all the highlights from the week before.
Right. They were able to get all the information to them. Monday Night Football was going to let you know. Then you got to wait for another week. That's crazy to think, though. I mean, we need to know when we're out shopping, when, the Bears are playing, and we got to get back before the Packers game. We just pulled up on the phone. We're done. It's nothing.
Exactly. All right, let's do this. Let's go take a walk around Packers Twitter real quick and see what we've got here in terms of news, and we got some injury information as well. I thought this was cool. ML Football tweeted out, Packers running back Josh Jacobs became the first player in the entire NFL since 2021 with multiple games of 3 or more rushing touchdowns in a season. Jacobs joined Derrick Henry. So, Emilio, Josh Jacobs is on a tear here, dude. I know we've talked about it all year. And the other thing, too, is when you look at him, with these crazy statistics geared around touchdown runs, the other side of that, too, which is pretty wild to think about, is how many rushing touchdowns he's had from like the 1 or 2 yard line, right? Mm-hmm. And how that really hurts his yards per carry. So his yards per carry should be higher, given he couldn't have gained another yard, obviously being on the 1 or the 2. So I think that's pretty cool too. What do you think about Josh Jacobs here early on, man?
And look at the picture, man. He literally looks mean when he's running the ball. I mean, that's something that you don't want to get in front of. I think it was Mike or West talking. They were saying that Josh being able to score those touchdowns, it was huge because that's something that we had a problem with. Like once we got down in the red zone, I think it was right when Matt kind of got here, we were doing all right. We had the gold zone for a while there, and then we started to hit a wall in the red zone where we were kind of leaning on the pass a little bit too much. It was 2 passes, maybe a run, or 3 passes and kick it, and we didn't get it, and ended up out of the red zone, no points. So I think that us being able to just say turn around, hand it to them is something that we really need to take advantage of being blessed with, because and it's not even like we're going full power. Like it's all right, hop back there, Josh. Let me just give you a 22 dive and see if you can't just wiggle it. He just sits that back there for a second and steps into the end zone. I don't understand it. And most of the time he's not. I mean, some of these he's walked in clean. So and that's a testament to the run, to the the offensive line, Steno and everybody working there too. I think that it's a mindset. Maybe we didn't travel right away. I think that's something also Steno said in that that presser was, the O-line started off really slow. I think that it's tough to travel, and they were asking him about the hard count and the cadence and all that. He goes, I hope it, let's see. I hope that we can fix it this week. It's not anything that he can guarantee, right? But it's something that they got to work at. Let's get through it now, being a regular season game, and then grow as the playoffs come.
Yeah, the other thing too, like you were talking about, whether they're running a 22 dive and remove being inside the red zone, right? Let's say you're at your own 30, a 22 dive, a 24 blast, or a duo look, and next thing you know, he's bouncing that thing out in the 6, and he's gone. It's just like not gone, but a good 25, 30 yards. The one thing, if you were to critique Josh Jacobs and say he doesn't have that, it's definitely the breakaway speed. But man, short area burst, lateral, quickness, and that agility. Obviously, the awareness, the ball carrier vision to set up a cut, right, and get you anywhere from 18 to 25 yards is phenomenal. And I would much rather have that as opposed to having top end speed but not have the aforementioned. Like it's huge to have that lateral quickness, but he definitely isn't one of the fastest backs in the league. And I'm good with that, man. I really am.
Yeah, you're not asking him to run an 80-yard
Right.
a play every time. It's not like we're handing it off after every kickoff and hoping he takes it to the crib. That's not something that we need him to do. Though, didn't he do that? Wasn't that, correct me if I'm wrong, against Raiders, against the Seahawks? Didn't he do that in overtime? It was like the first or second play of overtime a couple years ago, took it to the house.
I think it was, yeah, because that was one of the highlights that we kept showing. That once we signed him, was like, it was just, he absolutely housed it on.
And that would be my only other point to Josh in what he excels at is it seems like he can take a real simple run and pop it. That's what you were talking about. But even you take a 22 dive, you take a 23, ISO. That's so simple. Matt can scheme up whatever he wants around it. We can do motion. We can bring the tight end over. We can motion Josh Jacobs into handing it. I love that new wrinkle that's Matt has added, because it gets Josh behind Jordan for a second, and it makes the defense have to split second think, are we going left or right? I do love that, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. And again, it's all about maximizing your opportunities when you are getting the football. And you're not looking, I mean, you'll take a home run on every play, but really what you're just trying to do is get a hat on a hat, get yourself in space. And what's the beautiful thing about Josh Jacobs, you can be -1 in the hat count on a run, although you set it up to be +1 in the hat count on the play design. And he can make up for that -1, right? He can account for 2 people. It's really cool to see.
And you are always -1. The quarterback's always standing there.
Bingo.
You know what I mean? It's always going to be 10 on 11, but he makes it like 8 on 11, 9 on 11, 9 on 11. That's huge.
And that's why I get so excited on Chalk Talk. You'll hear me go, look at this, boys. We're +1 in the hat count.
Right.
When you hear me say that before the running back even has the football, we're going, okay, this is Matt LaFleur in his bag. And whether it's a little cheat motion, pre-snap, whatever it may be, or showing something multiple times 2, 3, 4 weeks prior and setting it up to where the defense wants to overload one side from what you put on tape and then take it right out the back door. It's a fun thing to watch. Biz1987 in chat said, I'm all in on the playoffs and playing to win a championship, but let's not cringe at a possible third place finish this year. Let the Vikings enjoy a second place schedule. Another thing too, Biz, think about this. We're talking about the Lions, right? They obviously they're going to win the North. I feel comfortable saying that. Now they could flop on their face and that would be glorious too. But let's say they do win the North, right? And let's say in the offseason, Ben Johnson leaves, okay? Aaron Glenn leaves. At least Ben Johnson will be leaving. I think it's still questionable about Aaron Glenn because there are some organizations, and I feel like rightfully so, they're a little hesitant on hiring a defensive head coach in today's football. But you win first place in the North, you lose your 2 coordinators, or at least the most important one, and then you got to come back next year and play all the ones, right? Yep. So it's huge. They're going to be set up for next year. The stuff that we have had to deal with for a very, very long time as an organization, being the Green Bay Packers, they're going to have to start to see what that's like a little more.
Right. There's no more picking first and then, getting top tier players, Aiden Hutchinson, all this stuff, and not having to do anything with it afterwards. So it's going to change quick.
Yeah. And Coach Lynn says, I can see them both leave. I can too. I really can. Aaron Glenn is a hell of a coach, man. What he's doing with the defense in spite of all the injuries is truly remarkable. And here's what's crazy, though. People, you hear that and you go, well, the Packers struggled again. The Packers scored 30 points, guys. Like some people were still acting like that Lions game was just not even like the Packers scored 30 points. This offense is humming. There's no doubt about it. So let's see. Antonio Universe in the chat says Jacobs' a speedy sports car with the torque of a pickup truck. I like it.
Thick.
That's right. That's exactly right. Thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. So let's come along here and see what else we got. Okay, this right here, I want to talk about this just briefly. Doesn't really have anything to do with the Packers. Has more to do with the channel. And I'm trying to do more research. I've reached out to YouTube to see exactly what this
great. Yeah, I'm sure we're going to hear back from them.
Right. So Brett Coleman tweeted this out on Twitter. At Brett Coleman said, NFL YouTube is about to get the one feature we always wanted. This is directly from at YouTube. At Team YouTube today. In fact, we've seen watch time of sports content on TV grow over 30% year over year as users visit YouTube to get their lineup of clips, highlights, and post-game interviews all in one place. We also began piloting Watch With, our newest feature that enables creators to provide live commentary, analysis, and real-time reactions to games and events for their audience. It transforms your favorite creators into sportscasters. While the feature is still in its early days, Get ready for this experience coming soon to a TV near you. Sports lovers deserve the best seat in the house, which means more choice and more ways to watch. Stay tuned for more unique to YouTube, game-changing experiences that will benefit not just fans, but all our viewers in 2025. So I don't know exactly what this is going to be, okay? But if we get to the point where we could possibly share a live stream while we're doing a live stream and not get flagged for it, would be phenomenal. And that's kind of what I'm reaching out and going, hold up, what are you guys changing exactly? Because you can do a watch party. You just can't put it up on the screen. There's some people that do Larry McCarron and Wayne Larravee's play-by-play, right? They'll do their play-by-play to the game in the background and just talk about what's going on. I've always been told that's illegal, but that's why we've been hesitant on it. So it's going to be cool to possibly get some watch parties. So we've been hesitant. Biz asks right here, says watch parties channel in the future. We've been hesitant, okay, for multiple reasons. First of all, on game day, you guys know we do a pregame show, we do a postgame show, right? So we do imagine me as a married person, right? I'm doing a pregame show 2 hours before the game. I'm sitting and watching the game for 3 hours, and then I'm doing a postgame show for anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. Like, the wife is not happy. So if I have to be 100% engaged with an audience while we're doing the watch party, she's really not going to be happy, right? Because I am able to leave the room for a second and chat and this and that. But I want to get this channel. Here's my goal, and we'll move on. I know you guys didn't tune in to hear the logistics of Packers Total Access. The goal long-term is for this channel to have live streams all day long. That's my goal. I want it to be it's just like turning on a Green Bay Packers channel at any point during the day. Now that right now we're doing 2 shows a day, it's going to turn into 3, then it might turn into 4 or 5. And I'm in the process. You guys know I'm a business owner. I'm in the process of mapping things out and trying to put together a logistic game plan, right? That, okay, this will actually work. And the main thing we want to be is predictable. We don't want it to be something where we get real excited about something and then it disappears, right? We want to be predictable. So what do you think about that? Am I reading wrong into that, what they're talking about with this feature? It kind of sounds like they're going to start to take the reins off a little bit, right?
Yeah, and the only other thing I was thinking was I know that YouTube TV has, NFL rights, so that would be my only other question as to are they going to try to link up YouTube TV with the YouTube app, and are you going to? My thought was, are you watching the game and you could have like a YouTube in window, while you're watching the game? I really don't know. I think that they can take it a lot of different ways. I think It's a pretty broad statement. That's kind of how they wrote it. Just to kind of cover themselves, because you could really kind of draw up anything for it.
Yeah, and the fact that they said the pilot's already out, I've been trying to find like information on what is it they're specifically talking about in terms of them letting other YouTubers use it right now. I haven't found anything, but we'll keep kind of watching through that. And it does say in 2025, so maybe this is something they're about to unveil here next month. We'll see.
Right.
So, all right.
Or it could be the end of 2025. So after the end of next season, you never know.
It could be. You're exactly right. And again, that's the one problem with YouTube is they are so vague with information. It's just, we'll just leave it at that. It's like communication is so freaking important, and they do not believe in communication. So anyway, real quick, you guys know we've kind of talked about this a little bit. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but the UNC Tar Heels actually put a tweet out officially yesterday. I think it was late last night. Welcome to Chapel Hill. Bill Belichick, the 8-time Super Bowl champion, has officially been named our next UNC football head coach. And it was announced today that Michael Lombardi, you guys know I'm a big fan of. I read all his books. I think he's a phenomenal football mind. I always throw the caveat in. He's brash. He's going to tell you what's on his mind. He's overly emotional. He'll tell you that. He's like, excuse my language, he's an ass, and he'll be the first to tell you that, right? But man, the amount of football knowledge that guy carries around. He's going to be Bill Belichick's general manager at the University of North Carolina. Man, it's going to be fun to just see it all unfold. I know you listen to his podcast a lot. You've read some of his books. How do you think they'll do down there, man? Are you excited about seeing how it unfolds? Because he brings a lot of clout, he being Bill Belichick. But at the same time, it's like I can see some young players like, I ain't going over and play with him, dude. he gonna give me hell because I bought a Ferrari with my NIL money. Like, I mean,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the one, I mean, on Lombardi, I think that it'll be kind of cool to see him actually in action, because ever since I've studied him, he's just been he talks and gives his opinion and kind of that stuff. So I think it'll be kind of cool to see him in person doing that. I think Bill's definitely going to get a squad together. I think that he's going to have a pretty mean coaching lineup, and if you have a GM like that top down, I think it's just going to be a setup for what they could potentially do in the NFL. They're going to hammer it out on a small scale now, and then work with whatever NIL money they have. Let's figure out our numbers, do all this and that, find talent. But if I forgot who it was, I want to say Wes and Mike again, or maybe Move the Sticks. They were saying you have your 17-year-old high schooler, and Bill Belichick walks in your house to recruit you to go play. You know what I mean? Like, he could go up to the Northeast. Anybody in the Northeast that he likes, I'm sure could, you could snag if you find a Patriot fan. It's any of that sort of stuff could play a role. I think that there's going to be a good game, a good team. I think that they are doing this not for a long-term thing. They want something to happen next year. I think that they're going to be shooting for the top 12 next year.
Yeah, I love what Ron says here too. Ron Samuel says young players will like the plan Bill has of getting his players ready for the NFL. That's probably the first thing he's going to mention when he walks into a living room to recruit. He's going to have those Super Bowl rings on, right? And he's going to walk in and go, "Hey, let me show you what it takes to get to the NFL. Sit down, let's talk." That'll probably be what happens. And I see you, Fred McFarley. Fred McFarley in here starting up said he can recruit youngsters. Ask his girlfriend. Easy killer. Easy. All right. Biz in the chat said, easy for other channels to do watch parties when it's their actual job. Keep doing what you do. Play-by-play with you guys would be epic. And again, our play-by-play would not just be us being drunk and ranting. If that's your thing, hey, more power to you. If you enjoy that type of – ours would definitely be analytics, breaking down formationally. If we had access to the actual game or some kind of film to where we could rewind in real time and then go right back to the live stream and just show little nuances of the game, little things like that. To me, that's where I think people could really, really find value in it. So, but yeah, we look forward to, like I said, exploring it here in the future for sure.
Right.
I would say this. So one of the reasons why we haven't went live during games and things like that, Ryan, Pack Daddy was doing it for a little bit. And I know he's got a family and he had to probably step away from it a little bit. We wanted to support him, right? I want everyone who hears my voice to understand real quick. We are lockstep with Packernet. That's where you find this podcast, right? Ryan put a flyer out there. Hey, anybody interested in doing Packers content, reach out to me. My wife pretty much made me do it. So I reached out to Ryan and we started kind of talking a little bit back and forth. And that's how this whole show came about. Now, obviously I own the show. Okay. This is Packers Total Access is separate from Packernet, but we are allies. Okay. Number one, period, case closed. Everything that we do is going to be attached to Packernet until Ryan doesn't want it attached to Packernet. That's the way we're going to roll. Okay. I just want to put that out there because I know things have changed and some stuff shuffled around and we won't get into all the details, but Ryan has been very, very good to us. So we appreciate, we all were listeners of his, right? Yep. That's how we all kind of came together. And then obviously with this show, that's how it came about for the most part. So Coach Lee in the chat said, I'm worried to see if players from UNC will jump ship after a year of dealing with Bill. That's what I'm saying, Coach. Coach, you know better than anyone. You're obviously coaching, and you've been around the game a lot closer than any of us have. I can see young players being like, I don't want to handle this, right? Like,
I think it's a different era. I mean, even my buddy who coaches high school, he was saying, he's like, dude, the kids now, like, yeah, we did the same thing in high school, but it's just they're not fearful of like getting in trouble, kind of, they really are just kind of letting it rip and not worried about consequences or anything like that. I think that it's a rude awakening, especially if you're if that's how you're built right now, and then you're going to see Bill. I don't think that's going to be a great combo. So I think he's going to build the team right, though. I think you're going to find like-minded people that he's going to put on the team and that want to succeed. I think he's going to snag some 5-stars. You know what I mean? It's not like he's he's not just going to be dragging in 2s and 3s to make the team up. I think that you're going to get a lot in the portal and all that. So it'll be good.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Next thing, I said total disrespect leaving Jeff Janis off this list. Today in Sports tweeted out, do you agree all-time best wide receivers in NFL history? Number 1, Jerry Rice. Number 2, Randy Moss. Shout out to Randy Moss. Don't know the details of what he's going through health-wise, but prayers going up to 84. Listen, I know he absolutely terrorized us in the Vikings uniform, but Randy Moss did a lot for the game. Randy Moss, I think, is one of the good guys in the game, although we've seen him as a bad guy for so long. I know he's going through some health stuff and had to step away from ESPN, so prayers out to Randy Moss and his family.
You got mossed.
Exactly. He was, man, I just remember when he burst onto the scene, it was like, who is that? And they called him the Freak, remember? It's like, and he was. Wow. I remember the old NFL 2K games. That might be before your time, Emilio, but he was on the cover of the 2K game. Man. So anyway, Randy Moss, number 2. Number 3, Calvin Johnson, another dude that the Lions absolutely tried to screw over, tried to get him to pay bonus money back and this and that from someone that they absolutely just tied up his entire career and didn't even give him a chance to win a championship. Sucks to be a Lion, I know, but Megatron, man, God, he was so good. As Greg Rice says, Megatron's a beast. He was a terror, no doubt. Yeah, number 4, Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens, listen, in his prime, they got him listed as a Niner. Obviously, that's where he kind of burst onto the scene. And then you had him go to the Philadelphia Eagles and obviously the Dallas Cowboys. Terrell Owens was a real deal, man. But now it took him a while to get in the Hall of Fame because of the antics off the field, and some would say he's a horrible teammate. I have a hard time saying that, not knowing someone personally, but he definitely deserves to be on this list, man. And then number 5, Lance Allworth for the Chargers way back in the day. He lands on the list at number 5. Need to write this down real quick. Top all time. So number 6 is our Green Bay Packers. First Green Bay Packer, Don Hutson in the number 6 spot. If you guys don't know much about Don Hutson, go do a little research. This dude was.
Here's the guy.
Yeah, I mean that guy. He rewrote he basically wrote all of the wide receiver record books, right? Until I think they were later broken by Jerry Rice. But man, back in a time when it was kind of frowned upon for teams to throw the football, that's why Curly Lambeau was so hated in the league, because he would bend the rules, and that's why I love him, to be honest with you. He knew how to use Don Hutson, man. Don Hutson was an absolute dog, man. What do you think about Don Hutson coming in at number 6 spot here? I mean, obviously we got Antonio Brown 7, Marvin Harrison 8, Steve Largent at 9, and then Chris Carter in the 10 spot. What do you think about that list? You agree with it? Disagree with it? What do you think?
Yeah, I think Don definitely needs to be in there, man. He was a split end, right? And then they started lining him up. And didn't he line up in like 3-point stance when he's out there too? For some of the, yeah, okay. So I remember going back watching some of the old stuff and a couple documentaries. Dude was unbelievable, and he was catching a watermelon. It's not like it was a football. He was out there just running sticks, deep nines, posts, and corners, just catching a watermelon. So it's it's great. And having a representative in there, I think that we need that. I think that it just shows the history of this team, that it doesn't need to be anyone recent. It doesn't need to be who we remember, Jordy, Devontae. Sturt, whatever. It's the boy Don Hutson who started, basically hammered down the forward pass.
Yeah. United Bates, the Alabama Antelope, that was his nickname, obviously playing at Bama. And they said that Curly Lambeau snuck into an Alabama practice, if I remember correctly, to watch Don Hutson. And there was a big controversy around who actually signed Don Hutson. There was another team that claimed they had signed him, and evidently Curly had got the contract signed like a day earlier. At least there's still some blurred lines around that, which that was Curly. That's why I always tell people, go watch Leatherheads. And George Clooney's character in Leatherheads is based kind of off of Curly Lambeau. That's how Curly Lambeau operated. Like he was not going to play fair, whether it was on the field or off the field. You guys hear the name Johnny Blood all the time. That was John Victor McNally, right? That was his actual name. He had years of college eligibility left and wanted to make some money in the pros. So he made up the name Johnny Blood, and he played for the Packers under the name Johnny Blood. Do you think Curly Lambeau didn't know that he was playing with them illegally? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That was Lambeau. I love it, man. So
walk the line.
Yeah, definitely. All right. What is this right here? iRock, did you guys see the NFL Films episode on the Lambeau Leap?
Oh, I did. I was going to send that. I just saw that before we got.
Is it just like a short clip, or is it?
No, it was like 6 minutes. Tom Grossi was voiceover in it. It was kind of just going over how many times the top players jumped it think I took a screen. So the list goes as Jordy was number 1 with 27 Lambeau leaps all time. And then there was and then Aaron Jones ended 3rd. But we'll have to pull it up, get a couple stats on it. But the one stat that I thought was crazy, Brett Favre only had one Lambeau leap ever, and he struggled to get up there. And then
I was going to say quarterbacks are nervous about it because that wall is kind of high.
McCarthy was talking about Taucher, or I think it was, and he goes, he just basically ran at the lowest wall and just kind of dove in sideways. I just got to get up there, man. That's it. But it was cool to see.
Yeah, I'll tell you someone, and it's kind of off topic. Well, I guess it's on topic. Davante Adams, to me, always seemed like he tried to shy away from it. And that was always odd to me. I remember being mad about it as a fan. Like, what the hell's his problem? Why won't he jump in the stands? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if he had, of all the touchdowns he caught, if he had like less than 10 Lambeau leaps or something.
Yeah.
But, he's probably
in. They had Matt in the interview for a minute there, and he was saying, I was getting mad at the guys doing the Lambeau leap because they'd be up there, or they would go a Selly, and then they would go Lambeau leap, and you're killing too much time. Now with that new rule, you have to be back in time for the play clock. So he said, Matt said, hey, I got to, you either get to celebrate or you get to do the Lambeau leap. And if you do the leap, I need you to get back over here, which is fair, especially now following that rule, unless you take your time walking all the way around, by security. But no, it's cool that we're blessed to have it.
Yeah, for sure, man. United Bates in the chat says, was neat seeing Grossi getting to narrate. Tom Grossi's awesome, man. He just does things the right way. Such a class act. His type of content, personally, isn't my type of content that I like to, get with Packer, get my Packers information through. But man, a stand-up dude, and what he does is so popular. So it's obviously crushing our approach. But again, we're going to key in on what we want to do, our niche, as opposed to, hey, what brings in a lot of viewers. We're going to continue to do that. But Tom Grossi is just he's an amazing human being, no doubt, man. Great content creator for sure. So, all right, guys, for those of you listening on the pod, that's going to do it for hour 1. We will see you on the other side for hour 2. We appreciate you. Perfect. All right. Hour 2, let's jump into it here. Obviously, we hit on the all-time wide receiver list. Let's keep on going. And here's some of the quotes that we heard from the pressers as Matt Schneidman put a tweet out and said, Jeff Hafley said, quote, I am really proud of the run defense. And Matt Schneidman went on to say the Packers currently rank not in rushing yards allowed per game after ranking 26th from 2021 to 2023 combined under Joe Barry. So huge improvement. Again, we've been watching this in real time every week with Chalk Talk. And we've been telling people all year, like, hey, look, man, this pass rush is really harnessed. It's really harnessed right now.
Right.
Until as we get into the last quarter of the season, that's what they were looking to do. They were looking to kind of control the run. And they've been very, very successful at it. They're talking about them being ranked 9th in rushing yards allowed per game, right? I think the more important statistic, in my opinion, is yards per carry. And the reason being is a team could pound the rock, right? And he may only, he may only gain 3 yards a carry, but if the offense turns the ball over twice and they protect the football and they end up rushing for, say, 140 yards as opposed to 120 yards on minimal carries, but they average per carry. I just feel like yards per carry is the second most important statistic. Now, I feel like that it's the rushing yards over expected is probably the most important statistic because that really, from a running back standpoint anyway. So when you're looking at gauging the defense on rush defense, yards per rush attempt, I think is the most important. When you're looking at it from the offense's perspective in efficiency terms, I think it's the rushing yards over expected. But pretty cool though, man. Rush defense, we talked about this last couple of weeks. It's came on strong, man.
Yeah, it has. And they're really starting to come together. I think that, with Hafley going to that 4-3-1 gap approach, everybody has to know their assignment. We've seen that they're not, you watch the Bears, San Fran, they were shooting upfield. I mean, it was when you run past the quarterback and the running back, that's a problem, right? So they got away from all that. Obviously, our sacks aren't there, our numbers aren't there, but it's just like how you're running, man. You get, you could get beat on a crosser if you can't keep up with them. In zones, you got, hot spots in the zones. Cover 2, you got the bunker shot, hole shot. Tampa 2, you walk the seam up, hit them underneath on a dig. So everything has its its counterpoint. I think us deciding to hammer down on the run and force them to pass is perfectly fine, because we haven't given up a lot of explosive pass plays. I think that intermediate stuff we need to sort of just ratchet down a little bit more. But again, you have different coverages that give up different things. And I'd rather not give up the explosive, and stopping the run, forcing them to pass the ball, I think puts you in a pretty decent spot.
Yeah, explosives are the most important aspect of both sides of the ball for a team. Again, when you hit on explosive, a running play of 10 yards or more or a passing play of 20 yards or more, it triples your chances of scoring on that drive. And that's what teams are trying to get to. That's what teams are trying to prevent. Down in and down out. Antonio Universe says the D tackles look like hungry Grizzlies ready to devour the run. I will tell you this, man. Kenny Clark, that last game against the Lions, played his ass off in the running game. There's no two ways about it. So hopefully.
And Happy mentioned him even getting down on some of those screens and, different swing routes, stuff like that. Him retracing. He's like, it's been absolutely amazing that Kenny's retrace ability and what he's been able to do. Problem is, he said Jahmyr Gibbs puts his foot in the ground, Kenny can't get to him. So we need more people retracing like Kenny does it. And I love to see now that we haven't gotten, beginning of the season seemed like we kind of ran right through the screens. Now I do see him shed and turn around and run. I mean, they're not even looking at the quarterback anymore. They turn their head and they're going for that back. So I do love that they're getting into it. We just need more.
Yeah, for sure. So John Miller of NBC 26, shout out to him. Go give him a follow. It's at John Miller NBC 26. All right. First time we've seen the Packers 2024 first round pick right guard Jordan Morgan in a few weeks, and he has a sling on his injured right shoulder. Doesn't appear to be coming off injured reserve anytime soon. So my guess is he had surgery. I didn't hear anything about that. Did you hear anything about a surgery, Emilio?
Nope.
I didn't know if I might have overlooked it. So him having a sling, probably going to be the playoffs at the earliest. I would imagine his season might be done. I mean, if he's in a sling right now and we're in week 15, it's going to be a while before Jordan Morgan is ready to go. So just wanted to hit on that.
That would be something. That would be a mad answer, right? But wouldn't that? Do they do? Are they doing one more day of media for him being a Sunday night? Tomorrow, I don't think we'll have anything, right? So I don't know if we're going to hear about it this week. Is the only
right.
thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not real familiar with the media schedule, but the media availability.
Yeah. So I mean, that's
yeah.
it is, like
you would think he would say something, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Tough that's still in the sling, because if he did have surgery, cool. I'm glad it's getting better, but he's still in the sling. If he didn't have surgery, he's in a sling. And how long ago was that injury? So that's another issue. I know, he had the problem is I just hate that he's had it kind of nagging him all year. I think hopefully it'll be one of those ones where it's, Christian Watson type thing. Let's hammer it out. Let's get it taken care of and be ready to go next year and just tear it up. I'm all right with that.
Yeah, definitely. So again, shout out to John Miller. I didn't see anyone else tweet that out, so he must have caught it before everybody else. So everybody go give that a like and everything, and give his tweet a like, not mine, and give John Miller a follow over there on Twitter. All right. That may be it. Now we got a couple other things here. So this is kind of cool. Jacob Morley, always thinking one step ahead. Another great follow on Twitter at Jacob Morley. He said 1/3 of the league might be looking to hire a new head coach. All right. And here is who he listed. Almost certainly will be looking for a coach are the New York Giants, the Las Vegas Raiders, the New York Jets, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Chicago Bears, and the New Orleans Saints. All right. Maybe will be Cincinnati Bengals, New England Patriots, Dallas Cowboys, and the Tennessee Titans. So when you talk about, and he put who ends up where, right? When you talk about Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn potentially getting, head coaching jobs somewhere else, listen, the Packers offense is on fire. Who's to say that Adam Stenavich might not get an offer, right? I don't think the Packers defense has been so good that Jeff Hafley is like one of the top candidates, although all it takes is an interview and you just impress the heck out of somebody. I mean, that's what happened with LaFleur, right? You had Sean McVay's coaching tree that was just it was running rampant through the league. Everybody was so excited about hiring these young coaches out of the Sean McVay coaching tree and the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. And then all of a sudden, you got Matt LaFleur, who came from one of the worst offenses in the league statistically with the Titans. He interviewed, and they said, oh, my God, this dude's a real deal. So I don't know, man. What do you think about these teams here? You don't necessarily have to guess who's going to go where, but I feel comfortable saying I wouldn't be surprised if each of those teams are looking for a head coach this offseason.
Yeah, I think they have to. They're mostly in dishevel. Giants, I don't even know where to go. Vegas is tough. The Jets, man, you gotta, Aaron Rodgers to deal with everybody else, what's going on there. And then, Jags, Cincy, New Orleans, they all have their own issues. My big one is Chicago. Are they going to go back? Can they go back to their ways and just hammer out? What if they took Adam Glenn and just said, hey, we're going to be a defense again. We're going to, let Caleb do his thing with whatever he needs to do. We'll bring in a young mind for the offense. And I want to build a strong defense. Would you be worried at that if, maybe he ran over there and did that?
Again, I'm not a big fan of a defensive coordinator becoming a head coach, right? Like the ones that it's really clicked with, Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh was a special teams coordinator. He coached in multiple different facets throughout his career. If you go back and look at someone's coaching history, if you get a head coach where it's just defense, typically, in my opinion, they're not going to be a great head coach. Bill Belichick got started as a special teams coordinator. As you guys seen behind the scenes, he was very, very involved with Tom Brady, putting the game plans together offensively, all that stuff. So that's kind of again, you look at today's defensive-minded coaches, and most of them are just, hey, I'll call the defense. Let me hire somebody to run the offense.
Right. And
I feel like that's hard to get an organization over the hump, me personally. Now, what you're seeing in Washington is really phenomenal, but I love what God, I can never remember his name, Quinn, right? Coach Quinn.
Yeah.
Love what he did. He came in and said, you know what, let me go get a head coach that just got fired with an offensive mind and let him run the offense. And obviously brings in Cliff Kingsbury, and it really just gelled really, really well. And that and hitting an absolute home run with Jaden Daniels as a rookie quarterback. So, yeah, for me personally, man, if you say Clayton, you want Chicago to suck, right? Who do you hope they hire? I hope they hire a defensive-minded coach. I would be okay with them hiring Aaron Glenn.
Yeah,
I think I wouldn't be worried. Now, if they hire Ben Johnson, I'm going, we'll see, because head coach is way different than OC. But to me, that's the best candidate out there right now, personally. So
yeah.
Now that Bill's obviously off the table. So
Right.
Coach Lynn says Mike Vrabel could get a shot at OC. Mike Vrabel, what's interesting about him is he's another one of those coaches very involved on both sides, right? So we'll see. We'll see what goes on.
I think he'd be more inclined for a head coaching position. When I was listening to the GM Shuffle, they asked Michael Lombardi that one time, and he was kind of like, well, I'm not going to speak for him, but I think that, he's more inclined to kind of hang out and, wait for the right one. He's not going to jump on a grenade just to get back out there. He's got a good rep and everything. That's kind of where his take was. But again, he could be lying because they were already in talks, I'm sure, about being UNC when I listened to that. It was only a couple of weeks ago. So I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Ron Samuel says we'll be playing a defensive coach on Sunday, with Mike McDonald. And Mike McDonald is a great young coach, right? And he's got Seattle playing pretty good football. Let's see if he can win a ring, right? Like if we go back, who won the Super Bowl last year, Emilio? Chiefs, right?
Chiefs.
That's Andy Reid, offensive coach, right? I'm trying to think of the last team that won it before the Chiefs. Who was it the year before the Chiefs? What was it?
Not the Rams, but that still goes to your point.
It feels like it's a lifetime ago, doesn't it, that you start talking about who won the Super Bowl?
Yeah, chat, help us out here. Who was before the Chiefs?
I'll go Super Bowl winners. Let's just run through it real quick, okay? It won't take just a second, and I want to see what we've got here, okay? So going back in time here, Kansas City offensive coach, LA Rams offensive coach, Tampa Bay offensive coach, that was Coach Arians, okay? Kansas City offensive coach, New England hybrid, like we talked about with Bill Belichick. If you want to say defense, that's cool. You can say defense. Again, he's very, very involved with game planning the offense. Philadelphia won it. That was an offensive-minded coach. And our boy, God, what was his name again? Doug Peterson, right?
Yep.
New England again, that's Belichick. Denver, the year they won it in Denver, was that – I'm trying to think of who was the coach in Denver that year. Man, I should know that. I want to say that was a defensive coach. I could be wrong.
Yeah, because I remember their defense was so stout. They just had Peyton just dishing it.
Right, yeah.
Real short and kind of turning the ball.
I think John Fox. There you go, Professor
sure.
K. Scott. Thank you, buddy. So that was, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was a defensive-minded coach, right?
Yeah.
I think he was. I think he was like a linebacker coach or something.
Yep.
New England, Bill Belichick. Denver, again, in 2016. I think that was the same coach. Actually, no, we already hit that one. I'm sorry. Denver, New England, Bill Belichick. Then Seattle in 2014. Now we're getting back over 10 years, or right around 10-year mark. That was Pete Carroll, so that was defense, right?
So 3 out of the – so if we go back just 10 years, 3 out of the 7 so far were defensive – or I'm sorry, 3 out of the 10, 7 offensive-minded, 3 defensive-minded.
Right. So, again, it doesn't mean that a defensive coach can't win a Super Bowl.
Right.
But if you're really playing the numbers here, I want that dude – let me put it this way. You go down and you get down by a couple scores in an important game, you're cooked, in my opinion. If everything about your team is geared around defense, it's going to be really hard to come back on that, right? Like with Chicago right now, Matt Eberflus, right, and the way they built this organization. Matt Eberflus was a great defensive coordinator at Indy. What he did, and when he left Indy, that defense just fell apart, right? Great defensive-minded coach. What did you see with the Bears? This year, one of the top defenses in the league. But their offense was absolute cheeks. Where do you think the emphasis was? It was on the defense, right? And what's crazy is when I say emphasis, I'm talking about coaching-wise, right? When you talk about how you built the roster and modeling out that roster, they dumped a ton of resources into on offense. They went and got the number 1 pick in Caleb Williams. Yep. They went out and got 2 number 1 wide receivers, right? Yep. Like they tried to. They got
drafted a wide receiver, number 3 wide receiver at pick 10.
Bingo. So,
or no,
there you go. It's just, it kind of, it is what it is there. So, again, it doesn't mean a defensive coach can't win one, but it's definitely, in my opinion, offensive coaches have.
Was Wink? Wink was D, right? And then who's the Giants coach right now? Currently, I forgot. It was
right now the New York Giants is Daboll, right?
Yeah, he's
offense.
Oh, he's offense. Okay.
Yeah, he was an offensive coordinator. I think he came up on Bill Belichick's group, and then
didn't Bill coach offense a little at the Browns, or was he only defense at the Browns?
Bill has always been a defensive coordinator / special teamer, but when you hear Michael Lombardi talk about him, he talks about the new age of coaches coming through the ranks, and everybody's just play callers. Like, you get all these new, like from the Sean McVay tree, they're just calling the offensive plays. They're just play callers. Give me my sheet. All right, let me hire somebody to run the defense, right? Bill was totally the opposite. Bill was so involved on the offensive side of the ball. Like he was completely embedded in that organization. Hey, look, I'm going to tell everybody exactly what we're looking to do. So that's why it's much different, right? And then like John Harbaugh, who obviously won a Super Bowl with Baltimore, he was a special teams coordinator. And the reason special teams coordinators, to me, I would rather have a special teams coordinator as head coach than a defensive coordinator because they've worked with both sides of the ball. They know how to handle both sides of the ball's personalities, right? So
that's why we were talking about Bisaccia, or people kept asking if Rich was going to get taken after he got that interim job.
Right, exactly. Packers Kingdom says, Clayton, why people say corner is more important than a 3-tech? I just laugh. I was watching and Chris Jones and Dexter Lawrence in 2021, Kenny Clark, or second half Kenny Clark 2023. So again, man, corner is important, but to think that you would rather have the better player out on the boundary where a team can just go, we're not even going to throw over there. We're going to go here. And you got another guy that's literally 12 inches from the football or 2 feet from the football. Like I'm going with that. That's why to me, center's so important too. They touch the ball every single play, man. Every play. So, all righty. Let's move it along here. This right here going to piss some people off. We're going to mention it anyway. Matt Schneidman tweeted out Matt LaFleur on Valentine / Stokes rotation. It'll stay that way. So they're going to continue to rotate them. They see something in Stokes that we don't.
That ain't no problem. Well,
How do you feel about him, man? I know you just hit that ain't no problem, but man, it does. It kind of bothers me, man.
I know. I think that he has to say that though, right? He's got to.
That's a good.
I think he has to say that too. I don't think they want to tear Eric Stokes down for what he's given the team coming back from injury and stuff. I don't think they want to drag him for when he's on his way out the door. You know what I mean? I think they want to give him a chance to go to another team and him not be bottom of the heap. But I do think that it's, Matt has to say it. I think he could probably be a little bit, more stern with it. But again, it's not his, it's not his defense to be worried about. If you wanted to ask that, go ask Jeff that question and see what he's going to give you.
Yeah. Chris in the chat said, Rich Bisaccia is not a great coach. I'm sorry. I have to respectfully disagree, Chris. This is the way I look at special teams. When was the last time we had a block punt? I paused for dramatic effect, right? That was a big issue a few years ago. When was the last time we had a botched hold where we missed the field goal off a botched hold, right? When was the last time we had a field goal blocked? Now, when was the last time we had a punt return for a touchdown? When was the last time we had a kick return for a touchdown? You see what I'm saying? Like, Daniel Whelan is a top 3 punter. Some say he's the best punter in the game. I think that's still Matt Araiza now that his name has been cleared from all those charges he was facing, right? The punt god is what they refer to him as. When was the last time, like I said, we have a punter that's a top 3 punter, arguably the best punter in the game, right?
Yep.
When was the last time?
We had a block this year. Colby Wooden and Carl Brooks have both had 2 blocks. I mean,
we won our special teams won a football game blocking a field goal, right?
Yeah.
Like, my question is, what do you want them to do? What do you want them to do different special teams wise? Because again, I don't look up at games and go, man, how many games this year has our special teams cost us the game? Right? That's the question.
It would have been early in the season when we had Narv kicking for us. That would have been the excuse, which is fair, completely fair. We had a lot of kicker talk, but that could have been Rich saying, hey, we need to figure this out. All right, it's not working. We need to get another kicker. He could have gone to Goody and done that. That's not out of the question there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like Chris says, well, Coach Lynn says, Rich has stepped his game up, been solid this year. I agree. Chris N says, what, Clayton, we can expect more than that. How though? What I'm specifically asking, and I'm not trying to argue. I'm not saying you're wrong and I'm right. I'm asking, what do you want different? Because I see special teams ranking. What special teams ranking? Like, what do you mean? I know there's a guy that does his own special teams ranking, and it's become the popular opinion. Like, oh, this special teams bad. Like, I don't watch the game on Sunday. How many times have you seen us on Chalk Talk hit something and go, hey, guys, this right here really affected the game on special teams? Like, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. The only times we're getting mad at special teams is when they make a dumb penalty on a hold or something on a punt that Daniel Whelan had already probably knocked inside the 20. I mean, if you take inside the 20s, how often are we giving the ball to our defense in good, defensive position? Let's hold them on it. How often are we giving them long kickoff returns to put them in a bad position? I think that's huge. We're kicking it through the end zone. How's it going to be? I think, everybody else was new to the kickoff. I think he's done a good job handling that, letting that not get out of hand. But yeah, I mean, and again, remember, he's still the assistant head coach. He still has that title. That's still somebody they're going to go to that they respect. Who's he talking to on the sideline? Matt. Who's Matt talking to on the sideline? Rich. They're always bumping up to each other, asking, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And then keep going on your way. But he does trust him. I think he's relied upon heavily.
Definitely. And again, I'm just simply asking, like, help me understand the metrics of special teams. Like, if we had, if we had a punt blocked, okay, cool. Yeah, that's definitely something's wrong with that. We were screaming it, right? How many years in a row did we get? We literally lost to the Niners off a block punt. Now, everybody wants to blame Rodgers because he threw the interception, or I can't remember if it was interception. Yeah, it was interception, where he chose to go to Devontae across the middle of the field as opposed to a wide open receiver, right? It's like, yeah, we're forgetting the punt that got blocked and returned, right? Fred McFarley says, specifically, I want them ranked as high as his salary ranks among his peers. That's what I'm saying. Like, what ranking are we going off of? I'm genuinely asking. what ranking are we going off of? Is it average field position starting? And what ranking are we? Is it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know who has the second most blocked field goals in the league since Rich became our special teams coordinator? That would be us. Number one is Pittsburgh. I think we went over that stat. We've had six or eight blocks. So, Pittsburgh had 11 or 12. So I mean that's.
Mm-hmm. And see, this is perfect right here. Holmes says, "Ask PFF with an exclamation point. They rank teams. So does Next Gen." What you're telling me, Holmes, is you don't know what they're ranking. This goes back to the whole pressure thing, right? Like all early in the year, there were people going, Gary's garbage, Gary's garbage, Gary's garbage. Look at his pressures. I'm going, where are y'all getting these pressure numbers? Like we go to Next Gen Stats and they're doing the GPS tracking, right? And Gary's all over the quarterback. Like he's, again, we just showed you last night. He's got a 3% higher pressure rate than TJ Watt. Well, where was that information coming from? PFF. Okay, cool. PFF, show us where you came up with that. Crickets. So we're just, okay, cool. PFF says they're bad, so they're bad. I can't subscribe to that. That's why it's important to watch the tape. And when you watch the tape, where do you see that? Where do you see the bad play on special teams this year? I just don't see it. And again, I'm genuinely asking. And no one can give me a specific answer of, well, they're bad here, they're bad there. Like, remember this play, Clayton? Remember this cluster of plays, right? I can't figure it out. I think it has become a popular thing that Rich Bisaccia is bad at his job. I just don't see it. I really don't, man. And that's the other thing too. Like Prince says, McManus fixed the main special teams issue, right? And it's funny too, Prince, because when Narveson was the problem, when Carlson was the problem, it was Rich Bisaccia's fault. But when we fix the problem and bring in McManus, and we fixed the punting problem, and we got Daniel Whelan, Rich Bisaccia didn't have anything to do with that.
You're an amazing person. You know that, don't you?
And if the argument is we're, 15th in special teams and we want to be 10th, let's go get the 10th best. As long as it doesn't come with the caveat of we're going to have less blocked field goals, we're going to have more blocked punts, all those type of things. That's a wild statistic. I mean, I didn't even know we were that good at blocking field goals, that we were second.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. So,
that was, I think, since Rich has joined the Packers, we are second in blocked kicks. I think we've had, I want to say it's 6 or 8. Mike or Wes brought that stat up.
Mm-hmm. Fred McFarley says we were 29th last year. I'm not sure if that's referring to special teams or not. 29th in what? That's, again, like what does that encompass? That's what I'm asking. So, again, I don't want to sit here and talk in circles, but that's kind of how I see special teams. I remember when they were losing us game after game after game, and I said, I just want a special teams that's not going to lose us the game, right? And I feel like we're there now. Now, the biggest issues I feel like on the team, if you were to try to spotlight the biggest issues on the team right now, it's tough to really go, hey, if we just had this, we would be way better. Because when you look at like the pass rush, which has been a big issue this year, when you look at that, you go, okay, what's causing that? The tape suggests, hey, we're really keen in on trying to stop the run, right? So it's give and take all the way across the board. So seeing people saying they posted a link. What link are we talking about?
He was, I think he said glossing in Dallas ranks. Honestly.
Yeah, so that's it. See, I think that's the guy that everybody talks about, that he ranks the special teams. So I don't, again, I was
going to say, honestly, I didn't even know what he was talking about. I never even heard of that.
Right. And it's a guy that he, every year he puts out his special teams rankings, right? And to me, it's no different than someone's power ranking, right? They're saying, okay, here's how I think the special teams are. But there it is. He said he does them at the end of the year. I would love to know the formula, Fred. If you can find the formula, message it to me, man, for sure. Because I'd love to see his formula on how he kind of ranks everything. Because again, we haven't had a block punt. We haven't had a blocked field goal. Obviously the kick return game is, the new rules are just absolutely crazy right now. Like it's kind of neutralized all the kick. Has there been one kick return for a touchdown this year?
Yeah, there was one.
So, so there's only been one? Is that what it is?
I'm pretty sure. I forgot who it was, but I want to say that I know that there's only been one this year so far.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, it seems like the chat is pretty unified, though. If I'm looking at this correctly, adding Bisaccia to the bum list with Myers, Clay, Musgrave, and Stokes will chisel the stone tomorrow. There you go. All right. And then United Bates says that McManus 91.7% field goal. That's tied for 8th. And the thing that makes me the happiest, 100% on extra points. LOL. So kicking's pretty much fixed, right? You got a big leg too. He's going to give you a shot at one of those 55 plus yarders. He's definitely got the leg power to hit that. So,
and I was looking at I think it was Rick Gosling, his website, I guess, from the 2023 rankings. I just scrolled down to the bottom. Yeah, he had us at 29th with 452 points, whatever that is. And I just scrolled down the categories. None of the Packers showed up in 0 of the worst categories. So gotcha. we're bottom 4, but ended up worse on none.
Does he specify what the categories are?
The categories: kickoff returns, punt returns, kickoff coverage, punt coverage, starting point, opponent starting point, punting, net punting, inside the 20 punts, opponent punting, opponent net punting, field goals, field goal percentage, opponent field goal percentage, extra point percentage, points scored, points allowed, blocked kicks, opponent blocked kicks, takeaways, giveaways, and penalties. Okay, that was all right. There it is. I find it. The last one was.
I find it.
That's on me. The last one, the worst, the one category we showed up worst in was Green Bay, 19 penalties for 178 yards.
So
that was terrible last year. Yeah, but we struggled last year. We were 3-6. I mean, we didn't even think we were going to make the playoffs. So compared to this year, I'd like to see his numbers at the end of this season.
I was going to say, yeah, this will be a good measuring stick, right? If we're going to take, that guy's kind of rankings as the gospel is the most important thing, right? Knucklehead right. Paul B says, "Don't jinx it, Clayton." Talking about the kicks not getting blocked. Which one get blocked this week? That'd be absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Get out of the way now.
All right. Let's see here. Greg Rice says, "So Rich was crap when we had every kicker before McManus. Now he is outstanding." Again, that was the measuring stick we were using, right? What have those kickers done in other places? That's the only way to really cross-reference that. I guess maybe my bar is way too low because I'm telling you, man, looking at the chat, I feel like I am definitely in the minority with this opinion. So the chat seems to think, get rid of Bisaccia.
Yeah, and PFF has us at 31st right now with a 59 special teams grade. But then you have New England Patriots, their special teams grade a 90, Denver Broncos a 90, Cincinnati's a 90, Arizona Cardinals is a 90, Detroit's is an 89, Dallas is an 88, and their special teams. Did we not see the dude just touch the ball? I mean, I feel bad for the guy. They said on the podcast he only played 8 snaps on special teams all year, but dude touched the ball after the punt got blocked downfield. So once that happens, live ball, it's over. Like, that's not a you know what I mean? That's not a mistake that would bump them down at all. That's it. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and when you look at the special teams grades of PFF, I kind of put them in that group with the run blocking. It's like I
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You got a 5 teams in the 90s. You probably have 10 in the 80s and another 15. In the another 10 in the 70s. You have 2 teams under 60, and we're one of them. It's like, all right, that's cool. And then there's only 4 more 60 teams. So, I mean, that's a broad number for all the teams.
I love it. United Base says, "I'm also seeing 6 kickoff returns for touchdowns this year. Turpin, Nwangwu, I hope I'm saying that right. Dallas, Chenault, Jones, and Thomas each have 1. So there's been 6 touchdowns this year.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I'd like to see what the ratio is too. Bates, you probably can't find this. Don't worry about looking it up. But it feels like Keyshawn hasn't had many opportunities, right? They just keep on kicking it into the end zone. I'd like to see how many actual returns netted that, because it might be it might even be way better than Keyshawn too. It might be they had less attempts than Keyshawn. That, to me, that would probably be the true measuring stick there, I would imagine. So, let's see here in the chat. Coach Lynn says, "Didn't Rich call out his special teams for a blocked field goal? And we got one versus the Bears." There you go. he called out the play. You guys remember he was the one who caught it on tape, took it to Matt. What Matt talking about that the next week?
Yep.
Imagine that.
Yep. He said, if we don't get out of here without a block, I will be disappointed, not happy. He was like, I will not understand if we don't get out of here without a block.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need that mentality. They had a couple chances at it too. It's not like we didn't have a couple extra points to try to block, and it just came up in the most important part of the game.
Yeah. Emilio, I seen your comment, Emilio. Fire Joe Barry. As Prince summed it up perfect, and we'll move on here. We're almost out of time. It's funny we spent that much time on special teams. It's hilarious. Prince in the chat says the lynch mob comes for everyone eventually. Sorry, Rich. So that's definitely the mentality for sure in Packers Nation. All right, let's see. Injury report. We got to hit this real quick because some things we did get a few updates here. This video that we got playing in the background, as we were talking special teams, it played the whole time.
You're just doing that thing.
Matt Schneidman tweeted out, I put Jair Alexander was full participation again today. Matt Schneidman said, we'll see later if Jair Alexander is logging his second straight day of full participation. Would be a great sign for his availability Sunday night in Seattle. Javon Bullard, the only DMP again. So it's Jair was full participation. You can see him on this video. Looks good cutting. Everything looks good. Knee looks healthy.
Dude, and the reverse back open, could have made it easy on himself and just turned to the ball, but nope, let's go all the way around, make sure I'm, loose and limber. I like it.
Yeah. And since we're kind of hitting on the injury report, let's go ahead and pop that up on the screen and see what changed in that regard. So there you go. All right. Dogs are fired up. Lincoln, as soon as y'all started talking about firing Rich Bisaccia, Lincoln was at the door smacking it, man. I had to text Mandy to come get him. He was like, what the hell is going on in there? I want to know what's going on. So it looks like as far as the injury report, the only thing that changed, Kenny Clark, veteran rest, he was back today, limited. Travis Glover, tackle, was sick. He was limited Wednesday. He's now full participation on Thursday. Elton Jenkins, veteran rest, limited participation today, so he was back. Rasheed Walker with the knee injury was full participation Wednesday, and he was limited Thursday. That kind of raised a little eyebrow with me, Emilio. Like, did he tweak something? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Could be the case. And then Evan Williams with the concussion, limited participation Wednesday, was full participation today. It's my understanding that the technical stance on that is they were both he and Romeo Dobbs are both still in concussion protocol, but I'm pretty sure they're on schedule to clear there. So what do you think about this? Anything you want to add to the Packers side of the injury report here?
No, I think that I'm happy with the list. It's not a big receipt. I think that the veteran rest even pushes it out even more. So we're in pretty good shape with that. Luke coming back, that's just another one added. And then, you're hoping, and it looks like we're good to go on everybody that we knew was coming back. I feel bad for Bull. I hope he gets back all right. And, I really get Ja out there would be big.
Yeah. Let's see. Going back to the special teams real quick, I see we got some information coming in. Biz, I apologize for the dogs, guys. Special teams has been so improved. Don't understand this complaining. Feel like I'm taking crazy pills. That's how I've seen it too, Biz. But again, you and I are in the minority, and anytime we're in the minority on this show, it's Packer fan total access. We want to try to identify, okay, what are we missing here, right? If there's just a couple of us that disagree, we're missing something for sure. So, yeah.
And so Holmes said here contextually, I'm quite happy with special teams. The grading obviously is obscure and probably not reflective.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then we'll go to Mr. United Bates. He said here, Nixon is tied 11th in attempts with 11 returns. 3 of those touchdowns, which he had previously gone over, came from players with more attempts, 21, 16, and 15, and 3 with less attempts, 7, 5, and 3.
Gotcha. So Keyshawn has definitely not been the best kick returner this year. Am I wrong for saying that, Emilio?
No, I think you only have a couple of chances. You got to make do with them. 21 attempts.
Other people are, right?
Right, yeah, and the one that he took out that we're not happy with was when he took that one late out, and we needed a better possession, didn't get far. I think that he's still trying to hammer out how he wants to return those, and he also doesn't get a lot of attempts. And when he does, it's they're kind of baiting him into it, or they want him to kill clock kind of thing. So yeah, but not the best this year. No. But I'd say we got our $6 million out of him, putting him in the slot and outside, back into the slot, and then back outside. I think that's huge.
Yeah, and Bates says last year he led the league in attempts at 30. So there you go.
And he kind of forced attempts last year, right? I think he's still trying to get. I think he's trying to get used to forcing them this year. I think it's a lot different with that wall of them right in front of you.
Yeah, Coach Lynn says people still mad about the block punt versus the Niner a year ago, bro. I hate thinking about it. There would be nothing better than me wanting to turn on playoff tape of snow flying at Lambeau Field, and I still can't watch that game because that block. I know it's at the end. It's just so frustrating, man. So frustrating. But all right, so on the Seattle Seahawks side of the injury report, we'll put the special teams talk to bed. We're good there, right? We covered it all. Seattle Seahawks, the things that changed, Michael Dixon, their punter with the back injury, was limited Wednesday. He was upgraded to full participation today. Jonathan Hankins was back. He was a veteran rest. Ernest Jones had a knee and veteran rest. He was limited now. He is improved to did not participate to limited. Tyler Lockett with veteran rest went from did not participate to full participation. Abraham Lucas, tackle with the knee and the veteran rest, full participation Wednesday, but did not participate today. So he must have been added in with the knees, what it sounds like there. Boye Mafe, linebacker, veteran rest, full participation today. DK Metcalf with the shoulder, full participation on Wednesday, and was limited today. So DK Metcalf, one of their home run threats there at wide receiver, is dealing with the shoulder. So
fun fact on DK, Rich Bisaccia actually coached his dad at Old Miss when he was coaching younger. He said, Rich in his interview said that it's the second time that he's had a son of a player he's coached. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. That is a cool little nugget. Jaron Reed, veteran rest, he was back. Brady Russell with the foot injury was limited on Wednesday. He's a tight end. Limited on Wednesday, did not participate today, so he might have had a setback. Lakin Tomlinson, guard, veteran rest, was full participation. And then Leonard Williams, defensive end, with the foot injury and veteran rest, did not participate Wednesday. He was back limited on Thursday. So, again, their injury report looks a lot longer than ours, but keep in mind that a lot of veteran rest there for sure. So we don't have a lot of veteran rest because we don't have a lot of veterans, right? That's the way it works. That's one of the
if they're getting beat up now. I mean, if that receipt's this long now, imagine what they're going to be dealing with as playoff time comes around.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I thought this was cool. Kevin Gallagher tweeted this out. I thought it was a sick shot. He put out the Golden Boy. Packers halftime. Packers halfback Paul Hornung gallops into the Maryland mist. If you guys are listening on the pod, just a really cool shot. Old grainy picture of Paul Hornung with the Colts chasing them, and you can kind of see it looks like the Packers are leading there 35-27 before what appears to be another touchdown there. Love too on the scoreboard. Look at the scores around the league there. I bet that was a big deal back then to be able to get those scores.
Yeah, and then updating them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
they already had the names hammered in. Those are set in stone. We can't change those very easily, but we can change digits.
Exactly. All right. So that was Twitter. We wanted to get into the PFF grades today for the Seahawks preview and kind of compare and contrast with our offense against their defense and vice versa. Obviously, we ran out of times. We hit the special teams pretty handily though, right? So we're good to go there.
Chris said my fault, Clayton. We threw the show off.
Oh, no. Hey, don't apologize, Chris. Man, that's what we're here for, dude. Listen, I feel like the special teams isn't an issue. But again, the fact that so many people are saying it is, it's what it's going to do because we make each other better here. It's going to make me look into it a little bit further. Like, damn, I didn't realize we were bad. I thought we were doing pretty good. So I need to dig a little deeper. You guys
know a little bubble on the track sheet for the game day, and we'll keep an eye, a little special eye on special teams. Try to make notes. Maybe
special teams penalties. That would be a good thing to track this week.
Yeah,
that's definitely something that. Many people think, hey, that's a coaching thing, right? You're not putting enough emphasis on not getting
that or kickoffs through the end zone. Are we trying to, delay them in? Maybe that's just something we got to add, but bringing it to our attention is the only way to do that. And again, throwing that back at you, Clayton. Carl K says, don't apologize for the dogs. They're okay.
Appreciate you, buddy. Appreciate you. You guys know by now this show sucks, so you're expecting stuff like that. That's the way it goes.
Oh.
So. Emilio, you got anything else, buddy? Anything else at all?
No, dude. I'm happy to be here. Glad we got off track, but that's about what you and I do,
man. That's what we do.
But no, man, I'm glad we got to go over it all. I think that, we have a good opponent coming up playing against Seattle in Seattle. Is going to be a good one. Another nugget was, I believe they're 3-4. They've actually lost 4 at home this year. They have only lost 1 on the road. So let's see if we can't, get that crowd out of it early, keep the 12th man quiet, and just, take it to them.
Absolutely. It's going to be huge, man, to get something rolling there early, try to jump out to an early lead. They're very pass heavy.
Yep.
So that's probably going to be one of those games where don't be surprised if they fall behind by a couple touchdowns and then you look up and it's tied up again, right?
Another nugget. Wes and Mike were talking. Geno has taken 40 sacks this year, 272 yards, I believe. So that's what 7 yards a sack dude is taking, because they're asking him to take deep drops, 5-7 step drops, hold the ball, move the pocket, get the long routes developed. That's tough. But he said, but they didn't give up any sacks last game. Yeah. So what kind of line are we going to get? I think we'll be able to dive into the numbers here coming up tomorrow and stuff and see.
Yeah. Bates in the chat says, we love good discussion. Chris, Coach Lynn, opinions are welcomed here. Definitely. And he also went on to say, you're good, Chris. And Coach Lynn also said, when we get off track, those are some of the best conversations. It's so true, man. That's when you truly learn. Like when you hear opposing opinions. I wish our damn government would try that for once, right? And like, hey, why don't we sit down and hear each other out here a second rather than entering our echo chambers? So it's important to have those discussions for sure. But Greg Rice says, Chris in, sit your butt out.
Sit your butt outside.
There you go, buddy. Might be the best drop on the whole rotation.
Yeah.
Emilio, thanks for joining me, dude. This was fun, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll be back in the morning at 8:30 a.m. Central for Good Morning Lambeau. I think Tim.
Bon dia.
Here it is. I think Tim might be back with me, and we may have a special guest too. I got to get a confirmation on that, but we'll see how that goes. So everybody have a great evening. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us and making us a part of your night. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. Go Packers.
And we go. We out.
Bye, guys.